Check, check, check. May I request everyone to take their seats? And I think we have a lot of room in the front. If we can have more people join the front rows and leave the ones at the back vacant. We still do have some time, I think, but just to settle down and get some breathing room. Requesting everybody to settle down. It'll just be a minute before we begin. Also a request for everyone to keep their phones on silent. And of course, we have our guest of honor who's joined us here. But before all of that, I'd like to welcome all of you to an evening which, in my opinion, at its core, is really about, I think, celebration of a very glorious past that all of us really share. I think it's also a celebration of that unending quest for knowledge, right, that makes us human beings, that curiosity that sparks life in us. It's also, I realize, at the core of the core, if there's such a thing, it's really about celebrating a labor of love. And it's about celebrating perseverance, strength in the face of adversity. My name is Sheetal. I'll be your host this evening, and I'm representing Padmaja and Sudesh this evening, and it's really giving me a lot of joy to see so many people join us on stage today. And I welcome you officially to mark the launch of History of the Shri Parakala Mattha and Abode of Hayagriva by G. Sudesh Kumar. Thank you so much for being here. It is also with the deepest respect and gratitude that I call upon our guest of honor to join in these celebrations. She's already here, and in that, she is part of the celebrations. I call Sudesh to take the stage. Well, Her Highness Rajmata Dr. Pramoda Devi Varyar of the royal family of Mysore is here today with us. Now, her presence, I think, elevates our sense of purpose in many ways. It makes us feel a sense of pride beyond everything. It also tells us something about the significance of this writing and the role that this writing has played in preserving that part of the shared history between the Mattha and the royal family. Mind you, this is some 600 plus years of a shared history that we're talking about. So her presence here means the world to us, and I say that on behalf of everyone who's gathered here. Thank you very much, Your Highness. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about the book, and the book itself is going to be available after we launch it to all of you. And it'd be great if you're interested in this chapter in our history for you to pick up the book and go through it. It has, of course, a history of the Mattha, origins, the various different GRs who really contributed various aspects to its evolution and its time. It also interestingly places the Mattha in the geopolitical context of that particular time. You have, Mughal, Delhi Sultanate kings coming in, and there's the Britishers who come in, there's all of that thrown into the book. There's also the history, indeed, of the tradition itself, the Sri Vaishnavism tradition, and the people who breathed life into the practices that we take for granted today. So you'll find many ideas that jostle for place on these pages, and that's really what makes it for interesting reading. There's also very interesting segments on the iconographies associated with Lord Hayagriva himself, and Sudesh has painstakingly pointed out to us all those temple architecture motifs that call out his prevalence and his supremacy in those days in our minds and in our hearts. So that, I thought, will also make the reading very interesting. I should point out that the book draws from multiple sources, 3 primary sources. I'm sure Sudesh will agree there are hundreds of secondary sources. But the primary sources, there's the Epigraphica Indica, which is a very old publication released by the Archaeological Society of India, I think 1938, right? Sudesh was here when they first published. We also draw heavily from the Mattha's own archives, records, inscriptions, and all the documents shared, and of course, the royal family's archives. That has been a gold mine, I think, in Sudesh's process of research, putting this book together. So that's a little bit about the book itself. What about the author? Of course, I think all of you who've gathered here know Sudesh very well, but in my opinion, I think the book and he seem to be made for each other, because he is a personification of all the goodness that we aspire to, all the good that human beings are really capable of. That's Sudesh as far as I'm concerned, so who better than him to put this book and its efforts together. He also, of course, as you're aware, is a PhD in chemistry, and he had a very successful career in research in the United States, as a lot of you are aware of, and then a very sparkling career in the private sector here in India. And I think it's this scientific temper, this academic rigor, this curiosity, this fascination for travel. He called it historical tourism. All of this that really I think will shine through in every page as you read it. I did make an effort at reading, and I got through, I think, half the book, Sudesh, in my credit, in the time that I had. But I intend completing the rest of the book because I found it a fascinating read, and I'm sure you will too. So that's a little bit about the book. And with that, I must, thank Sudesh for having us here to launch the book. We'll get to that point. Sudesh, is there anything at all that you would like to say? The mic is right next to you. You just need to flip the button in manner of an address.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon, everybody, and Her Highness, and all the friends, colleagues, family, and neighbors, and people from our retirement home in Devanahalli. I welcome you all. So I think, I am very grateful to you for taking time off and coming all the way through all the traffic snarls and, make it still on time. And I think I will speak a few words about the book. One of the things what Padmaja told me is that you are sitting on the dais with Rajmata and also a very high profile RJ. So nobody will look at you and nobody will listen to you unless you speak for too long. No? So I think what I would like to do is I will just essentially, summarize what is this Matha and what is the story. In a sense, just one sec, if you don't mind. Yeah. So, see, basically the story is in the pictures which are displayed there. The top figure there is Lord Lakshmi Hayagriva. Hayagriva is not in the Dashavatara thing, his story appears in Mahabharata Shanti Parva. This is the only avatar where after the creation, all other avatars happen after creation. This is one avatar which happens before creation. When Brahma is in his job of creating the world, suddenly two demons come and they steal the Vedas, and which is supposed to have all the knowledge that is required to create the universe. Then the Vishnu is supposed to come in the form of Lord Hayagriva, and then he restores the Vedas and gives it to Brahma, and the Srishti starts. That is the story which is given in Shanti Parva. So, and the next one is the picture that you see is Ramanujacharya. If you look, around the 10th century of India, one of the main centers of educational centers and cultural centers was Sharada Peeth in Jammu and Kashmir. So that was the center for all, the Vedic philosophy, the Buddhism, Jainism, and Tantrism, Vaishnavism, Shaivism, every strand of philosophical thought, that was it was a melting pot. So if you want to be a philosopher of any standard, you are supposed to go and get a validation from the scholarly team at Kashmir. So Ramanujacharya from Tamil Nadu, he is brought up at a time when the Buddhism was warded off from India, mostly in the elite circles. And the Shankaracharya's Advaita philosophy was the dominating philosophy. But he and his guru Yamunacharya, they seem to have a slightly different interpretation of the Brahma Sutras. So what he tries to do is to give a Sadguna Brahma definition to the ultimate reality. So for that, he was looking for a book which is called Baudhayana Vritti. Apparently that book was available only in that Sharada Peeth in those days. There was only one copy available, that was in Sharada Peeth. So this man goes all the way from somewhere deep south to Kashmir with his disciple, and then eventually they get an access to that book, and they note down some points. Of course, because it is the only copy, he won't be given any free access. They struggle for months together, and ultimately he comes up with his own commentary of Sri Bhashyam, which later on is known as Visishtadvaita philosophy. So now when he is in the presence of that Sharada Devi, that he is given an idol of Lord Haigriva, the Lakshmi Haigriva. So this is the one which he brings it back to Sri Rangam, and as per the records which were maintained by his disciples, he used to worship the same deity in his daily routine for throughout his life, and he lived for 100 years. So the importance of the Lord Haigriva is and then ultimately after another 200 years, through his spiritual succession, the same idol gets given to another Visishtadvaita philosopher called Vedanta Deshika. And he installs a Matta in Kanchipuram in 1350. So the third image that you see there is the Vedanta Deshika, his son and his disciple. So there is an inscription in the Kanchipuram temple which says that so much of some gifts were given to the Matta with Brahmatantra Swatantra Swami as the first Mattadipati, and they were given basically to propagate the philosophy of Visishtadvaita. So that is the beginning of the Matta. For that there is actually, it's an inscription which is there inside the temple of Varadaraja Swami. That is the origin of this Matta, and the picture that is shown there is the first year. Then of course, after that the Matta moves to Tirupati. It stays in Tirupati for about 250 years. Not many records are available when this Matta was established in Tirupati, except that some of the feudatories of Krishnadevaraya were visiting this Matta, including some of the very early founders of the Wadayar dynasty, and they will be in touch with the Mattadipati in Tirupati. Then, it stays there. The only records that are known about the Matta during that time is in this sampradaya, every disciple writes a laudatory hymn in praise of his guru. That is called the Taniyan. So the only records that are available is the Taniyans that are sung every day in the Matta of all the previous acharyas that were there. So through that Taniyans, at least we know that there were so many acharyas, and that was the period in which they were there. Then after that, the founders of the Wadayar dynasty, they are in touch with this Matta in Tirupati, and they invite the Matta to be shifted to Srirangapatna. And that Srirangapatna, then of course after that there is briefly speaking, there is a Tipu Sultan who comes into picture for another 15 years. Then once the Tipu Sultan era is over, the kingdom is shifted its capital to Mysore. So that is when the Matta also gets shifted to Mysore, and that is where it continues from 1800 to till today. And for most of the Mysore kings, the Mattadipati of this Matta has been the Rajguru, and they have a very deep connection as per the records in the Mysore royal family and also in the Matta, and of course otherwise the epigraphical records are there as she mentioned. So that is essentially the story of the Parakala Matta, and so it has its origins in Kashmir, and also there is also an interesting connection between Karnataka and this Haigriva, because this Ramanuja during his 10th century he comes to Karnataka in exile. He stays here for about 14 years. Then the time passes. After another 200 years, there is a Malik Kafur attack on the Srirangam temple. This Vedanta Deshika takes the commentaries which were written on Ramanuja. He also comes in exile to Karnataka, and he stays in a place called Satyakala near Kunegal. And of course, then he goes back to Srirangam and all that. And after another 200, 300 years, the Mysore kings invite the Matta to come to Karnataka. So to Srirangapatnam and then to Mysore. So there is a connection, periodical connection, that is waves of interaction of this Haigriva with Karnataka. So I think, that is what makes the story interesting from a history point of view. So I thought I will, just the people who don't want to read this 250 pages, 1.4 kg book, okay, this is the summary of the book. So if you have understood this, you don't have to read the book. Yeah? And all the other details are about the various acharyas and, the philosophical and literary works, what they have written. Many of them are, I've lost, and some of them are still available. Excuse me. So that is in essence the story of the Matha. So I think, before we start the invocation, I thought, I was supposed to speak this after the invocation is over. But, I just gave you a preview of the book right now. But it really doesn't matter. And we'll go ahead with the rest of the program. Thank you.
And those who don't want to read the book, I don't see why you don't want to read the book, but if you don't, then there's a master storyteller who's right here, probably a phone call away for a lot of people. And Sudesh was telling me this is the first time I've actually been on a stage having to do this sort of a thing, but one look at him and I don't think he's a newbie at all. You're very well done. Thank you so much for that. And as he rightly said, invocation, that's how we begin. And this is not just any invocation, this is as per the Matha Sampradaya. And we have Sri Bharat Swami, who's going to be joining us over here. He's from the Sri Parakala Matha in Mysore, and he's an Ekangi of the current Mathadipati, the 36th Jiyar. And I've always wondered what an Ekangi really means. So Bharat, if you could come on stage and tell us what your duties are. Welcome, welcome, and we're waiting for the invocation, of course, but one or two words on what your role, responsibilities are. I hear you get to do a lot of important things in the Matha. Please come.
ಪ್ರಥಮವಾಗಿ ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಸೀನರಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ವಿರಾಜಮಾನವಾಗಿ ಪರಂಪರೆಯಾಗಿ ಶ್ರೀ ಪರಕಾಲ ಸ್ವಾಮಿಗಳನ್ನು ಹಯಗ್ರೀವರನ್ನು ಆರಾಧಿಸಿ ಬರ್ತಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ರಾಜ ಮನೆತನದ ಕುಲಸ್ಥರಾದ ಶ್ರೀಮತಿ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಪ್ರಮೋದಾದೇವಿ ಒಡೆಯರ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಆಗಮನ ಮತ್ತು ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ವೇದಿಕೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಸೀನರಾಗಿರ್ತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಸುದೀಶ್ ಸ್ವಾಮಿಯವರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು. ಹಾಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರೆದಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಠದ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿಗಳು, ಶಿಷ್ಯರು, ಹಾಗೆಯೇ ಸುದೀಶ್ ಸ್ವಾಮಿಯವರ ಬಂಧು ಮಿತ್ರರು ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ, ನಮ್ಮ ಶೀತಲ್ ಅಯ್ಯರ್ ಅವರು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ನನ್ನ ಏಕಾಂಗಿಯ ಒಂದು ಅನುಭವವನ್ನು ಹಂಚ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಮುಂಚೆ ಗುರುಗಳನ್ನು, ದೇವರನ್ನು ವಂದಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದನ್ನು ಆರಂಭಿಸೋಣ. ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುಭ್ಯೋ ನಮಃ. ಅಸ್ಮದ್ಗುರುಭ್ಯೋ ನಮಃ. ಶ್ರೀಮತೆ ನಿಗಮಾಂತ ಮಹಾದೇಶಿಕಾಯ ನಮಃ. ಶ್ರೀಮತೆ ರಾಮಾನುಜಾಯ ನಮಃ. ಶ್ರೀ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮತಂತ್ರ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಪರಕಾಲ ಗುರುಪರಂಪರಾಯೈ ನಮಃ. ಶ್ರೀಮದಭಿನವ ವಾಗೀಶ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮತಂತ್ರ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಪರಕಾಲ ಮಹಾದೇಶಿಕಾಯ ನಮೋ ನಮಃ. ಜ್ಞಾನಾನಂದಮಯಂ ದೇವಂ ನಿರ್ಮಲಸ್ಫಟಿಕಾಕೃತಿಂ ಆಧಾರಂ ಸರ್ವವಿದ್ಯಾನಾಂ ಹಯಗ್ರೀವಮುಪಾಸ್ಮಹೇ. ವ್ಯಾಖ್ಯಾಮುದ್ರಾಂ ಕರಸರಸಿಜೈಃ ಪುಸ್ತಕಂ ಶಂಖಚಕ್ರೆ ಬಿಭ್ರದ್ಭಿನ್ನಸ್ಫಟಿಕರುಚಿರೆ ಪುಂಡರೀಕೆ ನಿಷಣ್ಣಃ ಅಮ್ಲಾನಶ್ರೀ ಅಮೃತವಿಶದೈರಂಶಿಭಿಃ ಪ್ಲಾವಯನ್ವಾಂ ಆವಿರ್ಭೂಯಾದ್ ಅನಗಮಹಿಮಾ ಮಾನಸೇ ವಾಗದೀಶಃ. ವಾಗರ್ತಸಿದ್ಧಿಹೇತೋಃ ಪಠತ ಹಯಗ್ರೀವ ಸಂಸ್ತುತಿಂ ಭಕ್ತ್ಯಾ ಕವಿತಾರ್ಕಿಕಕೇಸರಿಣ ವೆಂಕಟನಾಥೇನ ವಿರಚಿತಾಮೇತಾಂ. ಸದಾಕಾಲ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಬುದ್ಧಿ ಮತ್ತು ಮನಸ್ಸಿನಲ್ಲಿ, ಹೃದಯಾಳದಲ್ಲಿ ಹಯಗ್ರೀವ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಹಯಗ್ರೀವರು ಆಶೀರ್ವಾದ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಎಲ್ಲರಲ್ಲಿ ಅನುಗ್ರಹ ಮಾಡಲಿ, ಬುದ್ಧಿಶಕ್ತಿಯನ್ನು ನೀಡಲಿ ಅಂತ ನನ್ನ ಆರಾಧ್ಯ ದೈವ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಹಯಗ್ರೀವರು ಮತ್ತು ಪರಕಾಲ ಸ್ವಾಮಿಗಳ ಪಾದಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ನಮಿಸುತ್ತಾ ವೇದದ ಒಂದೆರಡು ಘೋಷಣೆ. ಭದ್ರಂ ಕರ್ಣೇಭಿಃ ಶೃಣುಯಾಮ ದೇವಾಃ ಭದ್ರಂ ಪಶ್ಯೇಮಾಕ್ಷಭಿರ್ಯಜತ್ರಾಃ ಸ್ಥಿರೈರಂಗೈಸ್ತುಷ್ಟುವಾಗುಂಸಸ್ತನೂಭಿಃ ವ್ಯಶೇಮ ದೇವಹಿತಂ ಯದಾಯುಃ. ಸ್ವಸ್ತಿ ನ ಇಂದ್ರೋ ವೃದ್ಧಶ್ರವಾಃ ಸ್ವಸ್ತಿ ನಃ ಪೂಷಾ ವಿಶ್ವವೇದಾಃ ಸ್ವಸ್ತಿ ನಸ್ತಾರ್ಕ್ಷ್ಯೋ ಅರಿಷ್ಟನೇಮಿಃ ಸ್ವಸ್ತಿ ನೋ ಬೃಹಸ್ಪತಿರ್ದದಾತು. ಓಂ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ. ಶ್ರೀತಲ್ಲಯ್ಯರವರು ಹೇಳಿದಾಗೆ ಹೊರಗಿಂದ ನೋಡೋದಕ್ಕೆ ಏಕಾಂಗಿಗಳ ಉಡುಗೆ ತೊಡುಗೆಗಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಕೆಲಸ ಕಾರ್ಯಗಳಾಗಿರ್ಬೋದು ಹೊರಗಡೆಯಿಂದ ಸುಲಭವಾಗಿ ಅಥವಾ ಬಹಳ ಕ್ಲಿಷ್ಟವಾಗಿ ಕಾಣ್ಬೋದು. ಅದೆಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ಅಂತರ್ಯಾಮಿಯಾಗಿ ಇದ್ದು ನಡೆಸೋಂಥವನು ಸಾಕ್ಷಾತ್ ಹಯಗ್ರೀವರು ಅನ್ನೋ ಅನುಭವವನ್ನು ನಾನು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಬಾರ್ದು, ನಾವು ಅದನ್ನು ಅನುಭವಿಸಿದ್ದೀವಿ. ಕಾರ್ಯಕಾರಣ ಸಂಬಂಧವಾಗಿ ಆ ಏಕಾಂಗಿ ಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದು ಉತ್ತಮೋತ್ತಮ ಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಆಚಾರ್ಯರಿಗೆ, ದೇವರಿಗೆ ಮಾಡೋಂಥ ಆ ಸ್ಥಾನದಲ್ಲಿರೋರಿಗೆ ಪಕ್ಕದಲ್ಲಿದ್ದು ನಾವು ನಮ್ಮಂಥವರು ಮಾಡೋದು ಅನ್ನೋದು ಅಷ್ಟು ಸುಲಭ ಸಾಧ್ಯವಾದಂತಹ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಗಳಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲ ರೀತಿಯ ಮನೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಮಗುವಿಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂದು ಮಗು ತಾಯಿಗೆ ಮಾಡೋಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆಗಳು ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಸಣ್ಣದು ಅಥವಾ ಅತಿ ದೊಡ್ಡದು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಹೀಗೆ ಹಾಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳೋಕ್ಕಾಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಹೊರಗಡೆ ಅದನ್ನು ವ್ಯಕ್ತಪಡಿಸುವಂಥದ್ದು ವಿಚಾರಗಳು ಇರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲ ಅತ್ಯತಿ ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮಗಳು ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಒಂದು ಥರ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು, ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಸಂಸಾರಸ್ಥರಿಗೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು ಅಂತಂದರೆ ಸುಲಭವಾಗಿ ಒಂದು ಗಂಡ ಹೆಂಡತಿಯನ್ನು ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹಾಗೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಹಾಗೆ ಗುರುವಿನ ಗುರಾಮನಾಗುವ ತನಕ ದೊರೆಯದಣ್ಣ ಮುಕುತಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಆ ದಾರಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕೈಂಕರ್ಯ ಒಂದು ಸೇವೆ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ 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 ಆರಂಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದು ಯಾರೋ ಬೈತಾರೆ, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಏನೋ ಟೀಕೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ, ಹೀಗೆ ಶುರುವಾಗತ್ತೆ. ಎಲ್ಲವನ್ನೂ ತಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ನಮ್ಮ ಕರ್ಮ ಅಕರ್ಮ ಫಲಗಳನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಎದುರಿಸ್ತಾ ಮೋಕ್ಷ ಅನ್ನೋ ದಾರಿಯನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸ್ಕೊಡೋವಂತಹವರು ಗುರು. ಆದ್ದರಿಂದ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಶ್ರಮಿಸಬೇಕು, ಕೈಂಕರ್ಯ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ಒಂದಷ್ಟೇ ನಾವು ನಿಟ್ಟಿನಿಂದ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದು ಸೇವೆ ಕೈಂಕರ್ಯ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾಗಿ ಇರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಸ್ಥಾನ ಅದು. ಬೇರೆ ಏನಾದರೂ ನೀವು ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರಾಗಿ ಕೇಳೋದಿದ್ದರೆ ನಾನು ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳ್ಬೋದು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ತನಕ ನಾನು ಹೇಳಿರೋದು ನಿಮಗೆ ಸೂಕ್ಷ್ಮವಾಗಿ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳ್ತೀನಿ. ಶೀತಲಯ್ಯರ್, ಎನಿಥಿಂಗ್ ಎಲ್ಸ್? ಈ ವೇದಿಕೆಯನ್ನು ಹಂಚಿಕೊಂಡಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು, ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ನೆರೆದಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲ ಗಣ್ಯರಿಗೂ ಮತ್ತೊಮ್ಮೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರಗಳು.
Thank you very much, Bharat, for giving us a very detailed explanation of the import of your activities. A lot of us might have not had the chance to meet someone like Bharat, and I thought that was a good opportunity. But today, it's also about launching the book. If you're wondering what happened to that set of ceremonies, well, that time is here. We are going to request Her Highness to help us light the lamp. And also, of course, Padmaja, I request you to welcome her with due honors.
ज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
And with that, the main part of the ceremony is done, but we are not entirely done yet. Something very important remains to happen. This is the reading of the Shri Mukam. We thought that would be an apt thing for an evening like this. And we have with us Shri D. Shrikant, who is actually a corporate professional, but also a Sanskrit scholar. He's also fairly involved in the Shri Parakala Matha Sampradaya, and so who better than him to help us read the Shri Mukam. So Shrikant, I'm going to request you to come up, and also perhaps if you could explain what you're about to do with the context of what we are doing, that would be absolutely great.
ನಮಸ್ಸಭಾಯಿ ರಾಜಮಾತೆಯವರಿಗೆ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ, ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸುದೇಶ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಅವ್ರಿಗೂ, ಸಭೆಯಲ್ಲಿರೋ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತದಲ್ಲಿ ಶ್ರೀಕಾರ್ಯಂ ಅವರು ಶ್ರೀಮುಖವನ್ನು ಕಳಿಸ್ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ, ಪರಕಾಲ ಸ್ವಾಮಿಯವರ ಆಶೀರ್ವಾದ. ಅದನ್ನು ಮೊದಲು ಓದ್ತೇನೆ. ಶ್ರೀ ಶ್ರೀ ಹಯಗ್ರೀವ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀನಾರಾಯಣೋ ವಿಜಯೇತಾಂ ಶ್ರೀಮತೆ ರಾಮಾನುಜಾಯ ನಮಃ. ಶ್ರೀ ವೇದಾಂತ ಗುರವೇ ನಮಃ. ಶ್ರೀಮತೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮತಂತ್ರ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಪರಕಾಲ ಗುರುಪರಂಪರಾಯೈ ನಮೋ ನಮಃ. ಶ್ರೀಮನ್ನೂತನ ರಂಗನಾಥ ಯತಿರಾಡ್ ಆಪ್ತಾತ್ಮ ವಿದ್ಯಾಲಯಂ, ಶ್ರೀಮನ್ನೂತನ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಣಾರ್ಯ ಯತಿರಾಡ್ ಸಂಪ್ರಾಪ್ತ ತುರೀಯಾಶ್ರಮಂ, ಶ್ರೀವಾಸೇಂದ್ರ ಕಟಾಕ್ಷ ಸಂತತ ಸುಧಾ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಯಾತ್ಮ ಯೋಗಾಂಚಿತಂ, ಶ್ರೀಮನ್ನೂತನ ವಾಗಧೀಶಯಮ್ಯಂ ಭಕ್ತ್ಯಾಶ್ರಯಾಮೋ ಗುರುಂ, ನವ್ಯ ವಾಗೀಶ ಯೋಗೀಂದ್ರಂ ಹಯಾಸ್ಯ ಪದಸೇವನಂ, ಬ್ರಹ್ಮತಂತ್ರ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರಾರ್ಯಂ ಭಜಾಮ ಸ್ವಾತ್ಮಸಂಪದಂ. ಶ್ರೀಮತೆ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಹಯಗ್ರೀವ ದಿವ್ಯಮಣಿ ಪಾದುಕಾ ಸೇವಕ ಶ್ರೀಮದಭಿನವ ವಾಗೀಶ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮತಂತ್ರ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರ ಪರಕಾಲ ಯತೀಂದ್ರ ಮಹಾದೇಶಿಕಾಯ ನಮೋ ನಮಃ. ಆಚಾರ್ಯವರ್ಯಾಣಾಂ ಮಂಗಳಾಶಾಸನಂ. ನಮಸ್ತ್ರೇಧಾ ವಿಭಕ್ತಾನಾಂ ಆತ್ಮನಾಂ ಅಂತರಾತ್ಮನೆ, ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಣೇ ಹಯವಕ್ತ್ರಾಯ ಬಂಧಮೋಕ್ಷೈಕಹೇತವೆ, ಪರ್ಯಾಯ ಭಾಷ್ಯಕಾರಾಯ ಪ್ರಣತಾತಿಂ ವಿಧೂನ್ವತೆ, ಬ್ರಹ್ಮತಂತ್ರ ಸ್ವತಂತ್ರಾಯ ದ್ವಿತೀಯ ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಣೇ ನಮಃ. ಲೋಕೆ ಜೀವೋದ್ಧಾರಕಾಣಾಂ ಬಂಧಮೋಕ್ಷೈಕಕಾರಣಾನಾಂ ಹೇತುಃ ಶ್ರೀ ಪರಕಾಲಮಠೆ ಆರಾಧ್ಯದೈವಃ ಶ್ರೀರಾಮಾನುಜ ವೇದಾಂತದೇಶಿಕೈಃ ತಪೋಮಾರ್ಗೇಣ ಭಕ್ತಿಮಾರ್ಗೇಣ ಚ ಶ್ರೀ ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮೀ ಹಯಗ್ರೀವಃ ಅತೀವ ವಿಖ್ಯಾತಃ ಇತಿ ಸರ್ವವಿದಿತವಿಚಾರಮೇವ. ಏತಾದೃಶ ಆರಾಧ್ಯದೈವಂ ಅಧಿಕೃತ್ಯ ವನಪರ್ತಿ ನಗರೆ ಪ್ರಸಿದ್ಧವಂಶೆ ಜಾತಃ ಶ್ರೀ ಜಿ ಸುದೇಶ್ ಕುಮಾರಃ ಭಾರತೀಯ ವಿಜ್ಞಾನ ಸಂಸ್ಥಾಯಾಂ ಪ್ರಧಾನ ಪದವೀಂ ಅಲಂಕೃತ್ಯ ಪಿತಾಮಹಾನಾಂ ಅನುಗ್ರಹೇಣ ಆಂಗ್ಲಭಾಷಾಯಾಂ ದಿ ಹಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಆಫ್ ಶ್ರೀ ಪರಕಾಲ ಮಠ್ ಆ್ಯನ್ ಅಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಆಫ್ ಹಯಗ್ರೀವ ಇತಿ ಪುಸ್ತಕಂ ರಚಯಿತ್ವಾ ತಸ್ಮಿನ್ ಪುಸ್ತಕೆ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭೆ ಶ್ರೀ ಹಯಗ್ರೀವಸ್ಯ ವರ್ಣನಂ, ತದನಂತರಂ ಪರಕಾಲಮಠ ಸ್ವಾಮಿನಾಂ ಜೀವನಚರಿತ್ರಂ ಸುಂದರತೆಯ ಸ್ವಪಾಂಡಿತ್ಯೇನ ಮನೋಜ್ಞಶೈಲ್ಯಾ ವರ್ಣಿತವಾನ್. तादृशपुस्तकम् आमूलाग्रं परिशील्य तेषां पाण्डित्यं वर्णयितुम् अशक्यः। श्रीसुदेशकुमारस्य कुटुम्बस्य च परकालमठे विराजमानानां श्रीलक्ष्मीहयग्रीव, श्रीलक्ष्मीनारायण, वेणुगोपालदेवानां दिव्यकटाक्षाः श्रीब्रह्मतन्त्रस्वतन्त्रपरकालमठाचार्याणां दिव्यानुग्रहः भूयासुः इति आशंसामहे। इत्थं नारायणस्मृतयः। आचार्यादेशन श्रीमदुभयवेदान्त इ.वि. वीरराघवाचार्यः श्रीकार्यकर्ता श्रीपरकालमठं महिषूरु. Before I begin to read out the translation of the Shri Mukam, I would like to give a brief introduction of what Shri Mukam is. A Shri Mukam is a benedictory blessing or a Mangala Shastram as it is called in the traditional terminology. The Shri Mukam would start usually with a salutation to Bhagavan and the Acharya, invoking their blessings, and the Acharya conveys his benediction over the said occasion. In the current Shri Mukam, we have two important hymns. One is a shloka on Lakshmi Hayagriva, and this is very special because this shloka has been selected by Parakala Swami from the Hayagriva Stotra. Usually everybody knows the Hayagriva Stotra, the common Hayagriva Stotra start with the Jnananandamayam Devam with the 32 shlokas. This particular one is from the famous Shatadushani, the Vada Grantha on Advaita Siddhanta. This is authored by Vedanta Acharya, Vedanta Deshika Kavitarka Simha as he is famously known. The another one is the Taniyan or the Muktakam. In Tamil it is called Taniyan and in Sanskritam it is called Muktakam. It is nothing but a shloka which is separately composed to glorify an Acharya and their Guru Parampara. And here we have the Taniyan of Brahmatantra Sundar Jiya, the first pontiff of the Brahmatantra Sundar Parakala Mutt. This is composed by his disciple, Ghadikashatam Ammal, who happens to be the grandson of the great Nadadur Ammal, who is none other than the grand preceptor of Vedanta Deshika himself. Here in this Taniyan, Brahmatantra Sundar Jiya is glorified as the reincarnation of Sakshat Ramanujacharya himself, Pariyaya Bhashyakaraya, as the Taniyan says. Salutations to all-knowing Lakshmi Hayagriva, who is the supreme deity worshipped at Sri Parakala Mutt and revered by our Acharyas Sri Ramanuja and Sri Vedanta Deshika through the paths of tapas and bhakti. We salute the Supreme Being who is the cause of uplifting the jivas of the world and the attainment of moksha from all earthly bindings. In this noble lineage of devotees, born in one of the famous families in Vanaparthi, Dr. G. Sudesh Kumar obtained his doctorate from the Indian Institute of Science. With the grace of his ancestors, he has authored a treatise in English titled The History of Sri Parakala Mutt, an Abode of Hayagriva. In this book, he starts off with a description of Bhagavan Hayagriva and then goes on to delineate the life stories of Swamis of the Parakala Mutt in a beautiful, scholarly and attractive manner. Having reviewed this treatise from beginning to end, I can vouch for his erudition in this subject. I pray that the deities revered by Sri Parakala Mutt, Sri Lakshmi Hayagriva, Sri Lakshmi Narayana and Sri Venugopala Swami shower their blessings on Sri Sudesh Kumar and his family members. May all the Acharyas of Sri Brahmatantra Swadandra Parakala Swami Mutt also bless him and his family. All glories to Sriman Narayana. By the order of Srimad Parakala Swami, Srimad Ubhayavedanta E.V. Veeraraghavacharya Swami, Shri Karyam, Sri Parakala Mutt, Mysuru. Thank you.
Some of you may be aware, but for those who aren't, Shrikant's great-grandfather served with the Matha in the reign of the 33rd Jiyar. So that was something else that I failed to share. And thank you so much, Shrikant, for the explanation and the brilliant reading, both of you, for having done this for us today. We also now move on to another very important part. I think Sudesh touched upon it very briefly. He spoke about the relationship between the royals of Mysore and the Matha. And I am going to request Sudesh and Her Highness to tell us a little bit about how she has perceived the book. And I should also add that she had a role in reading the book and pointing out a few things that she wanted done in the book. And that was amazing because that really shows you her involvement and her investment, I would imagine, in the idea of the book we are launching and celebrating today. If I may request you for a few words.
ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. Dr. Sudesh, all the Shri Vaishnava followers and other philosophical followers, and then the spiritual community, I should say. I'm very happy to be here this evening to release this book. The story of Parakala Mutt, a living history, living heritage. The picture speaks. Always they say picture speaks better than words. And here the screen is very, very, very depictive of, you can imagine what goes through one's mind when you look at the screen. When I first met Dr. Sudesh, when he came to request me to write the foreword, I wasn't sure. So I was unable to meet him at the first instance, and then I think after some time he persisted that he had to meet me, and then by that time I had come to know about his the reason why he wanted to meet me. And the first question I posed to him was, how come you have chemistry background, and how come you're into this philosophical writing the book? Normally people who have physics background tend to be spiritual, and then chemistry is kind of there's a vast this thing between energy and chemistry. Then he explained to me why he wanted to write, and then I agreed to I said, okay, let me see what I can do, but I can't promise you any particular. I was busy at that time. It was just after Dasara, and then it's a very busy time for us. Then I went through the book, and of course, he's already explained, what the contents in the book. The Hayagriva evokes a very positive feeling. And he was, as we all know, he was created to slay another demon called Hayagriva. That's one story of that. So that Hayagriva, the demon Hayagriva has had a boon that only another person with another Hayagriva, it means horse-necked person can slay him, other than more or less most of the demons have these kind of boons from either Shiva or Brahma, and then Vishnu comes into everybody's rescue and says, okay, I'll destroy the demon. And then as we know, and then you can always depend on Vishnu to do all good. So he takes the form of Hayagriva. As he explained, he saves the Vedas and also kills the demon. And there is another story called he kills Madhu and Kaitaba also. Yes, he also kills Madhu and Kaitaba, two demons. We also have a story called, in the Devi Bhagavata also, there comes Madhu Kaitaba. The Devi also kills Madhu Kaitaba. So there's a lot of common with the Devi Mahatmya and the thing. This Parakala Mutt thing. We as a family, he just talked about Shri Mukam. I'm very happy with the word he's used, a living heritage, because to this day it continues, the heritage continues. It's not an extinct heritage. The Guru Shishya Parampara continues even to this day. We had this Brahma Tantra Vagisha Parakala Swamiji at our place 10 days ago. And Bharat, of course, as Sheetalayar explained, Ekangi, he accompanied the Swamiji. It's a living heritage, and then I think we also have similarity of this Mata got established roughly in the mid-14th century. That's about 600 years from before, and then our dynasty also around the same time. That was not 1350, as he put it, and then our dynasty started with 1399. So it's a very long Guru Shishya Parampara. And he also mentioned, Sudesh also mentioned about Tirupati having Matta. Tirupati Matta is the first, the Parakala Matta in the Tirupati is right behind the temple. And that Tirupati, there is the first puja happens from the family, and it's more or less simultaneously we give our puja samagri to the Lord Venkateshwara to be the Aarti, first Aarti, and then simultaneously Parakala Matta comes. So that also goes to show that it is a living, there's a lot of living heritage in this. I consider myself privileged as well as blessed, because when I got married, I was blessed on the eve of my marriage by the previous Brahmatantra, Abhinava Ramanuja Parakala Swamiji. And of course, we were present for the current Brahmatantra Vagesha Parakala Swamiji's Pita Diksha. Also, we were, we had the privilege to witness that. And Swamiji visits us at least 3 times a year. Every year we have the blessings, and we look forward to his blessings every year. And then, of course, when we go to meet him at the Matta, it's a different protocol. And then when he comes visiting at the palace, it's a different protocol. But every time we've met him, we've had very easy conversation, and I have a very good rapport with him. On the contrary, he calls me on the phone, and even though I'm not in front of him, I hesitate to take his call because I don't know how to address him on the phone. So it's these are all things which it's always in your memory, and you treasure those memories. And coming back to Ramanujacharya, I'm sure all of you must be aware of a place between Srirangpatna and Melkote. There is a Kere Tonnuru, I think. That is where he stayed when he was in Karnataka. That place is still there now. Anybody could it's a very beautiful place. And there's a long history between Parakala Matta and Melkote also. There's the first puja, all the Maryade happens to the Parakala Swamiji first, and then the rest. Even in our custom, when there is any wedding or any Shubhakarya in the family, we do his Pad Puja first, and then do all other rituals. Every year, any whatever, maybe our New Year festival, or Dasara, or Deepavali, or any festival which we celebrate, the first thing we do is invoke Parakala Matta Swamiji's blessings by seeking his blessings. We have the joys. We're supposed to have Trimatastas in our this thing to follow all the protocols. So we do have Sri Vaishnavite priest also. So we identify him with the Matta, and then we offer prayers to that. And then we also we are very unique in this philosophical concept. We also follow Advaita as well as Vishishta Advaita. Very minor difference. Advaita is almost at the higher you go, you start that Aham Brahmasmi. You you start believing that Brahma is your soul is not exactly the soul, but then Brahma resides in you. Whereas Vishishta Advaita, it's an amsha of Brahma, so it's unity in, again, it's very minor difference between the two. But we follow all that. We follow both Advaita and Vishishta Advaita. And of course, when we follow the Sringeri and Parakala Metta, we do Pada Puja physically. His feet are washed earlier my husband used to wash his feet, now my son washes his feet. It happens physically, and when he's present, he washes his feet, and then we, that's considered, we have the prasada. And Sringeri, they put the padake, and then they're not supposed to touch so we, padaka puja. But the first, this thing in our calendar also is kind of, a Panchanga carries both, but the Sri Vaishnava mantra is on top, Hayagriva mantra is on top. And there it is, it's a very unique calendar. All the Shaivite related festivals, we follow the Shaiva, Advaita philosophy in Shaivite, this thing, all this Sri Vaishnavite festivals, we follow Sri Vaishnavite things. So it's a mixture of both Advaita and Vishishta Advaita. Sometimes one does get confused which one to, So at the end of the day, as you grow older and as you grow spiritually, the goal is the same. Whichever philosophy you opt for, the goal is the same, to reach, to get yourself enlightened. So on that note, I think Sudesh has done a wonderful job of delving deep into the historic facts, and then brought out all the important aspects of the history of Mata through this book. I think it's by reading that, it's kind of it's a must read for to connect or to understand the relevance of traditions. Actually, the rituals, although rituals are fading now most of the time because of paucity of time, many reasons, rituals are on the wane. But I hope sometime it's cyclic. It's a kind of a cycle goes, the wheel moves. In certain times it sort of takes a back seat, and then again it comes back. It's a cycle. So we're going through a kind of a culture decline cycle. I'm sure we will move forward, and then it comes back. The wheel will move back to the place where we started, and then it continues in that form. And then I conclude by thanking Dr. Sudesh for having given me this opportunity to read the book. And yes, I did. I apologize for this thing, if I've offended him in any way by pointing out certain mistakes which I thought was errors. So thank you for giving me this opportunity, and thank you for inviting me for this function. Thank you all.
Words of wisdom indeed. I must thank you for that. And I think everybody who was drifting away into afternoon slumber was probably picked up by that last word of caution, whereas all paths lead to one. And of course, talking about cultural decline, very important. And that's why an effort like Sudesh's actually stands out in this day and age. We've decided to also do a small little Q&A with Sudesh, where hopefully he will give us some fascinating anecdotes concerning what went into the research, the making of the book really. A few days ago, he and I spoke, and he mentioned Siddhartha as a book that he really enjoyed reading. I didn't even know there was a book version of Siddhartha. I only thought it was a movie, which he told me bombed very badly at the box office. But nevertheless, this is a sort of freewheeling conversation. On one hand, you're talking about the Parakala Mata, and then on the other hand, Shashi Kapoor movie, and it was all very, very good fun while we were discussing this evening's proceedings. So I had plenty of questions to ask him. But I would also like to remind everybody that the book is available. We've launched the book. Please do, if you're interested in reading about the history of the Matha, pick up a copy and it will open your eyes in many different ways. Sudesh, are you ready for our little rapid fire round? And maybe with the Queen's permission, we might throw her 1 or 2 questions as well, all concerning the book, of course. All right, super. All right, I will join you there.
Check.
No, now I
Mine
think it
is
is.
working,
Yeah, this is fine. Mine's working too. Yeah, this is fine. So, Sudesh, I mean, very briefly, if you can tell us about the birth of the idea, because not everybody, as the Queen rightly pointed out, the first thing that struck her was chemistry, and then he's writing a book. Where are the parallels? So, how did it really take shape?
Yeah, I think both chemistry and history, both of them are equally boring. So that way, it's a very easy transition from chemistry to history. Yeah. Now, the birth of the thing is my grandfather. I think I was explaining, Rajmata also. He spent the whole of his life in Parakala. This was, about almost 100 years back. And my father also spent almost, I think, till he was 8 years old, he was in Mysore. Then, of course, we moved to another princely state, which is at that time was in Nizam's domain, a place which he read out called Vanaparthi. That was also and the rulers of that Samsthana also were the followers of the Parakala Mata, and some of those records are given in the book. So, but essentially that is so we have been hearing about this, although we are very far away from Mysore, we have been hearing about it. And then I think, incidentally, after my marriage, my wife's side family and my mother-in-law is sitting there, and my brother-in-law is sitting here. And of course, I also have to acknowledge my brother and sister-in-law. So all of us, from her side also, there is a very big scholar called Rallapalli Anantakrishna Sharma. He was a literature person both in Kannada and Telugu, and also he is a musicologist. He is the person who did this Annamacharya project for the TTD. So he also spent his whole of his, I think, career in Parakala Mata. He grew up literally there. And so I think, so it is actually a discussion always comes in. So I think that is the basic root cause for this. And another thing is, the brief story that I narrate, and as I mentioned that I also grew up, the first time I saw an image of Hygriva, other than in our house, was when at that time, 1960s, there was a Vijay Yatra. These acharyas, they go around taking those idols and going to the places where they have their followers, and then they try to do, some of those rituals for inducting into the faith for the children and all that. So that is the first time I saw a Swami from the Matha and also the idol, the actual idol of the Hygriva. So I think, so then somehow after retirement, you have nothing much to do. So I think, and also, I must say that when I met the current 36th year of the Mutt, I'm really, at a loss to explain his commitment and his dedication to the Mutt and all that. He is 96 years old, barely able to talk or walk, but he still goes down the Pushkarini so many steps every day, and then he climbs back up and, does all his daily rituals as per the Agama Shastras, which he's supposed to do. So he is the person who, when I met him, he expressed interest that you have a PhD and all this kind of stuff. And there are also, of course, I knew that there were some books which were written, one English book before independence. After that, there was a Kannada book called Parakala Vaibhavam that was written in 74. There were also 1 or 2 Telugu books that were written. So I think he was basically mentioning that, somebody like you should take it up and create an awareness and try to come up with a book. So it is basically the Acharya's wish that, I thought anyway I can fulfill because now I am not doing anything. So I think that is a basic motivation for doing this book.
Somehow you make it sound very easy, because a lot of us, when we retire, I don't think are going to be sitting and writing books for sure. But a lot of effort goes into that, which really brings me to, I'm sure in the process of your research, that's the most exciting part about research, is that you discover new things, your eyes open in ways they haven't been. Are there one or two things that you discovered which you had absolutely no inkling of, either from the history of the Matta's perspective, or something to do with the association with the royal family, or any other aspect of it?
I think, I don't know, I can't think of any, but I think I didn't know in deep about the whole history of the Matta. I think, it sort of draws you in. Once you start working on it, it basically draws you inside, and it also resembles, as I mentioned, chemistry. Because unlike writing a novel or something where it's purely your imagination, here it's mostly data, evidence-based argument. To say that there is a temple existed, whether you have an iconography or not. And also, the second chapter, it says the idols of Haigriva you will see all over India. You see it in Assam, there is a Haigriva Vasudeva temple. And then there are, of course, all the Hoysala temples have Haigriva images on the temples. And Khajuraho temples, have the thing. When we went and we took some pictures. So I think, of course, one of the criticisms that comes is that in India that you just create a history without actually any backup for your discussions. But if you look at this, 600 years of the history that you see through, for every, story that there is a backup, there is an inscription and everything. As I mentioned that the 200 years of Tirupati, there were not too many other records. Because that was also the time when it was almost a jungle kind of thing. Very few people used to go there, and also, it was not a conducive thing for any scholarly discussions and all that, because if you go there, it takes very long time to come back, and not like present day Tirupati. So, and even the, the Suprabhatam, which is recited every day, it refers to the two demons. Yeah. In the third verse, it says that the Lakshmi is sitting on the chest of Vishnu, who is killing these, Kaitaba and things. So I think that is about the same time that the Matta also shifted from its original Kanchipuram to Tirupati. And also the Haigriva temple was very close to the Tirupati. So I think, there must have been lots of interactions and everything. So I think, you get a lot of connections which you don't see. But when you go deep into it, I think you will start seeing connections, although there may not be a very hard evidence. It can also be subjective and biased. But I think if you apply a rational scientific mind, I think you still think that there is a lot of material that one can write another thesis, a PhD thesis after retirement. So that's what I have done. Yeah.
Right. So now that the book is behind you, I'm sure there are plans to, are you now, seized by another idea of another book? Because I must tell you that Sudesh is no stranger to the world of books. He's got 4 others to his credit, but all of them are, I think, the realm of chemistry. This, therefore, is, I think, a more mass appeal book, if I may call it that. Yeah. Are you already working on something? And are you going to be asking Rajmata to open the doors of her library again?
No, there is not going to be another Parakala Mutt book. But yeah, I mean, all my earlier books were in chemistry. But, this is something which I didn't know whether I'll be able to do it. But I think, it gets a lot of credibility. I get a lot of confidence because it has been vetted by the people who are very familiar and involved with the tradition. And of course, Her Highness, from the historical perspective, from the Mysore and other, Mysore royal family. And I have also sent it to another scholars in Sri Vaishnavism, the Dushyant Sridhar, a public speaker, who comes on TV every other day. He has also gone through the book and he has given a very nice comments. And also because we are from Hyderabad area, there is a temple there called Chilkur Balaji Temple, which all the people from Andhra and Telangana, they go there because they believe that the Balaji gives visas, the US visas. It is called Visa Balaji Temple. I mean, the reason I went to him was because his father was a controller of examinations in Usmania University when we graduated. So all our mark sheets were signed by him. So I thought, it's nice. So I went to see him also. He is now 90 years old. I thought he's another, maybe there is some connection that he, his mark sheets were, our mark sheets were signed by him. And this Haygriva is supposed to be a god of knowledge. Most people go, even in Bangalore, for example, near the Majestic, during the examination time, all the students flock to the Haygriva temple. He's supposed to get them through the exams and all that. So, I think.
Fantastic. And thank you so much, Sudesh, for giving us all of these nuggets. But I'm quite certain an endeavor like this cannot be achieved or cannot be followed through without the support of several people, and you have clearly encountered many. Would love to hear about the other people who played a significant role in getting the book from dream to reality.
I think, the first and foremost person is my wife, Sutradhari. She controls everything. Yeah. Even for organizing this meeting and everything, we had to go through some very unfortunate events in our life. But even during that time also, I think, she's the one who gave me all the courage and strength to go through. So she's the first person. And I think I also have a few mementos which I will explain what they have done. And
Yes.
I think the madam can give them,
Yes.
so that they can remember that they got it from Rajmata. Yeah?
Absolutely. We will request Rajmata to honor these people who have contributed to Sudesh's effort. Hari Ravi Kumar, would be wonderful to have you here. Hari is an author, he's a translator, designer, violinist, all of those rolled into one. If it's possible to have many traits in one person, you're looking at an example of that. He's also co-written and translated and edited close to 40 plus books related to Indian heritage and philosophy. That's Hari for you. I'm also going to ask Ashok Yu to start making his way to the stage. Ashok is not here, okay. Rajneesh, is Rajneesh around?
The person who has done all
Designed
the
the-
sketches in the book. Unfortunately, he's not here.
Yeah.
This is done by Ashok.
Rajneesh Kashyap is a designer publisher with, again, a keen interest in culture and philosophy. He's also the founder of Gayatri Prints in Bangalore. Is
I'm
Rajneesh
not
here?
sure whether he made it through. He said he will come. But I think, again, he's the person who did the original design for the manuscript. So I think, but all the people have been introduced to me by this gentleman only. So, I am ever grateful to him. So just like all, non-book affairs were managed by Padmaja, all the book affairs were managed by Hari Ravi Kumar. No? So I think without these two individuals, I don't think I would have completed my book. So
Bharat,
thank you.
please come by because you have set off the evening with that invocation. Would also like to have you on stage back again, Shrikant. Thank you so much. A larger round of applause would be great. Some more energy.
One more guy?
No.
Some of the, lot of photographs in this book were very old and, they were drawn about 100 years back. So I had to sit with the GK Vale photo studio and something I wanted to really thank him. He took those beautiful pictures that you see because it's a coffee table book. Although it is 240 pages, you don't have to read all of that because there are a lot of pictures in it. So that's a good thing about the book. So unfortunately, he doesn't seem to be here. So I think, again, I thank him. So.
Of course, wouldn't have been possible without Dr. Pramoda Devi's presence this evening, so we would love to honor her as well for her participation. And Sudesh, would be great for you to have a final word of thanks. People have made it out on a very hot summer day and made sure that this is an evening for all of us to remember. I've enjoyed myself certainly, and we've all had the chance to listen to different voices and perspectives from newcomers and youngsters and also people who've been there and done that. Would be good to hear from you. Final note of thanks.
Now the people who are here, my elder brother, Mr. Ravindranath, if you can just stand up. He has been a source of strength, and Saroja, my sister-in-law. And of course, my mother-in-law, Sarala Venugopal, she is and my brother-in-law, Mr. Vijay Krishnan, he is also a PhD in chemistry. So based on the data of these two people, she thinks that all PhDs are boring kind of guys. And I really thank all my family, friends, relatives, neighbors, and my colleagues. I see quite a few of them who have come, taken the trouble of coming here. And all the people, who have supported me with the publication of the book and everything. I am so grateful to all of you because you have been such a source of strength in the last 1 year. And without all of your support and everything, there are a lot of people, by the way, a lot of senior citizens, retired people from my retirement home who have been extremely supportive to us. So I am grateful to all of them. My ex-bosses are there, my ex-colleagues are there. So I can't, and of course, finally, I think I should also thank Seetal, because, the first time I heard her voice was in 2004. I was working in GE corporate R&D, and I used to drive from Indira Nagar to. So at that time she was in, she was an RJ. So I used to switch on the Radio Mirchi or some such station at that time, I think, and then this bubbling voice comes every day. So I thought, this voice is enough to go through all the driving traffic troubles from Indira Nagar to Whitefield. So that is the first time I heard her voice. And then later on, after several years, maybe 7-8 years, we went to Gurgaon and came back. And then suddenly Padmaja went and joined her company. By that time she started her own company called Timber Media. So I think somehow Padmaja gate crashed into her company, and then she said she's my boss. So I think we never thought that, the voice that I heard 20 years back will come and help me with my book inauguration. Thank you so much. Yeah.
My pleasure entirely. Always. And with that, thank you very much, everyone, for being here. There's an evening of high tea, and also for you to have a look at the book, pick it up if you'd like. And it's wonderful that you could make this a very memorable event for both Padmaja and Sudesh, and I thank you on behalf of all of their family members today. Padmaja, it would be nice for you to just come up on stage for just one moment. Show yourself. All right, sit and maybe take a picture. A big round of applause for these wonderful people and the great effort. I think we are done, so you might want to head to the tea room. Right there, right? Correct. Thank you so much, everyone.